Seems as if Yamal has finally become the villain and people want him and are reveling in his failures. Is that fair? Let's keep it real. There seems to be this strange and weird, understandable, but celebration of Yamal's underwhelming performance against PSG. First, he started off very well, was looking really good in the first half. But as the game wore on, the second half wore on, as PSG got better, Yamal became ineffective. And just on cue, you had people said, overrated, useless Yamal, look at this kid, he thinks he's so cool, he's so arrogant, why are you putting a crown in your hand? You're not Messi, you're not Neymar, pipe down, sit down, kid. And I'm just like, this is interesting because it's as if people want him to fail. And people are waiting for him to fail. And people have, they have drafts of insults and abuse as soon as he has a disaster class. So there's that draft waiting. Okay, when's that disaster class? When's that disaster class? Disaster class, boom! Put out a tweet. Boom! Let's put out that freaking meme. 100%. Boom! Let's put out that meme with Yamal with some MILFs. Boom! That meme with Yamal with some dwarfs. Shout out to the hobbits out there. So what I want to just investigate in this video is, why do people want this guy to fail? So you look at the game, you know, and it's like this the scenario, because I think this goes off what we're talking about in the hangout. Teenager, still developing. No. If he's good enough, he's old enough to take the smoke. And I don't agree with that. So people are like, oh, no. If you're already a starter, you're already playing, you should be able to take the smoke. Because my thing is, this is a teenager. This is a teenager. You know, this is a guy who is still developing. He's 18 years old. He's 18. So he is still a teenager. He leaves the teens in 2027 after the World Cup. So my argument is, should we hold a teenager to such high standards? Because if you understand football and you know football, whether it was Messi, whether it was Rooney, whether it was Ronaldo Nazario, we viewed them as teenagers, and we didn't hold them to the same standards as the 25-year-old, the 27-year-old, the 28-year-old, the 31-year-old, even the 23 or the 24-year-old. Because we know that as a teenager, you are still developing. And anybody who has watched football long enough will know that most of the great players, name all the greats, they were better than they were when they were teens. They were better than they were maybe in their early 20s. Any great player you think of did not remain at the same level through their teens, through their 20s. No. Like, that's just football. That is simple football language. So my response is, why are we holding a teenager to the same standards as other 20-year-olds? But then there's the response, because I want to be fair here. If you're a starter, and you're a regular starter, and you're touted as one of the best players in the world, we should hold you to the same standards of you being the best player in the world. If you're in the conversation of being the best player in the world, if people believe, like myself, you're the best player in the world, let's hold you to the standard. So when you play well, good. When you are under par, we fully criticize you, as we did with Messi, as we do with Mbappe, as people did with Neymar, as we did with Cristiano. Because if you're that top player, we hold you to those standards. If you're a Timo Werner, we don't care about you. If you have a good game, that's a miracle. Let's throw a damn party because you have a good game once every lifetime. But if you're that top tier dude, Oh, we've got to hold it to super high standards. We've got to hold it to super high standards. So that logic does make sense. It does make sense. But you see, here's the reality here. Yamal is arguably one of the best teenage talents we've ever seen. I would argue he is. I would argue it's between him and Pele. Because Messi was amazing as a teenager. He was freaking amazing. He wasn't as good as Yamal. Ronaldo Nazario was a freak of nature as a teenager. Go look at the numbers. He wasn't as good as Yamal. Because what Yamal did in terms of what he did last season for Barcelona, what he did for Spain in the Euros in his first international tournament, that's an insane goal he scored as a 16-year-old against a top-tier team of France and providing one of the goals in the final. Bro, name another teenager outside of Pele who did that. Of course, you've got Mbappe. But as good as Mbappe is, I'm one of the guys from Mbappe FC. Yamal as a footballer overall is better than the teenager Mbappe. He was. Mbappe as a teenager was amazing. Yamal was better than Mbappe. He was better. So I think the problem lies. This is where the problem lies. The state of football. A team should not be reliant on a teenager. Yo, at the back. You can't hear me at the back? Okay, I'll say it again. A team, specifically a top-tier team, should not be reliant on a teenager. Can you hear me? Cool, nice one. The problem is, we are living in a very different footballing world. We are living in a footballing world where a teenager is the best player in the world. And that shouldn't be. So, you are right. If you're one of the best players in the world, we should hold you to the standards of being one of the best players in the world. That's what should happen. So if you're one of the best players in the world, we have to critique you of the standards of being one of the best players in the world. But here is the caveat, here is the issue. A teenager should not be in the conversation of one of the best players in the world. They should not. Messi as a teenager was one of the best talents, not one of the best players. Ronaldo Nazario was one of the best talents, not one of the best players. Mbappe was one of the best talents, not one of the best players as a teenager. But the issue is, based on where we're at of football, Yamal is one of the best players and one of the best talents. Because football has depreciated. Because this is where you have the argument. People say, oh no, football has evolved, football has gotten better. And people say, oh, this football is way better than it's ever been. I disagree. I think the tactics have sort of gotten better and a lot more nuanced and expanded. So I agree in terms of coaching and tactics. But in terms of individual ability, individual quality, it's decreased. There's a reason why I picked out this shirt here. Totti. Let me bring this boy here. Go to your YouTube, go to YouTube and look at clips that this guy called Francesco Totti, one of the most talented football players you'll ever see. In terms of just individual ability, what he's able to do. In today's world, this guy can't exist. This guy can't exist. A guy where give him the ball, based on his intelligence, his football IQ, his imagination, and his ability, he can decide a game. Just based on just his individual, unique, innate ability. And there were several of these guys back in the day. So because there were several of these guys back in the day, there would be no room for a teenager to be one of the best players in the world. Because back in the day, whether it's the 90s or the 2000s or maybe even the 2010s, you had those 20-something-year-olds that were amongst the best players in the world. So when Messi was coming through as a teenager, Dino was holding it down. And so Dino and Eto'o, they were the elder statesmen until Messi now became into his 20s, and then he then took hold of the team. That's what happened. Like Cristiano, when he was coming into Portugal as a teenager, Rui Costa and Figo, they were the guys holding it down. So when he was coming in through, Figo and Rui Costa, they were holding it down to usher in Cristiano into his 20s. Yamal in that Spanish team, Spain are reliant on Yamal as one of the attackers. They are reliant on him. Barcelona are reliant on Yamal. Top team. So for Yamal, Spain and Barcelona are reliant. Say it again. Spain and Barcelona are reliant on a teenager. Spain is one of the best international teams in the world. Barcelona are one of the best clubs in the world. Both of those teams, they are reliant on a teenager. So can you now see the issue we now have? So when you just look at the world of where we are right now, Ousmane Dembele, I respect him. Rafinha, I respect him. Salah, I respect him. These guys ain't Figo. These guys ain't Totti. These guys ain't Del Piero. These guys ain't Henry. These guys ain't Seedorf. These guys ain't Baggio. I'm sorry. As good as they are, I respect them for their effectiveness. But in terms of individual footballing ability, they are none of those guys that I named. Tactics have evolved. Coaching has improved. Preparation has been improved. Dieting has improved. Individual ability has depreciated. Mesut Ozil has no place in football right now. Just think about it. Mesut Ozil, one of the smartest playmaking football minds we've ever seen, has no place in football right now. Because you cannot have the luxury player, you cannot have the individual, you cannot have the guy who's a free role player. So that's why we are in this weird scenario, because yes, you should criticize Yamal and everything, but he's a teenager. And here's the key thing here is people are like, oh, he's not going to get those numbers. And like after people reminding people, we will never see a Messi ever again. We're never going to see a Messi ever again. Messi is one of the greatest players of all time. Messi is the most consistent player of all time. So Messi's achievements through goals, through his consistency, what he did in 2012, what he did in 18 and 19, we will never see that ever again. So trying to now say, oh, Yamal will never be Messi, no, he'll never be Messi, because Yamal is forging his own path. And Yamal has done things that neither Messi, Ronaldo Nazario, you could argue Mbappe never did, in terms of how he's pretty much puts himself as one of the best players in the world as a teenager, and what he did for Spain in his first Euros. We never did that. No one ever saw that. So that's the scenario that we're dealing with here. That's the scenario that we're dealing with here. So my thing is, I hate when people even do comparisons. Messi is Messi and is unique, and his legacy will be one of the greatest legacies we've ever seen. So to compare any player to one of the greatest football legacies we've ever seen is stupid. Doesn't make any sense. But every player has their own unique path that they should forge, which is individual to themselves. So rather than comparing with he has a better legacy. This is his legacy that is unique in and of itself. This is his legacy that's unique in and of himself. Because Yamal's own unique legacy is, bro, look at what this guy is doing as a teenager. And we've never seen a teenager do stuff like this. So my thing is, here is that this is where I am. I enjoy watching Yamal. Because what I value are guys who take risks, guys who dribble. I know. That's a very triggering word. It's very triggering. I know, and it is very triggering to use stats mentions, but it is what it is. But I'm sorry, just it's trigger warning. I like people who dribble. Yeah, I do. For me, dribbling is a very important aspect of the game. Hence why Messi was so good, based on just how good of a dribbler he was. Whether it's Nazario, Maradona, Zidane, and Dino, dribbling is important. And some of the best players in the world who we hold as the very best were amazing dribblers. So I do admire dribbling, which is a very difficult thing to do in football if you've played football. His IQ, his football imagination, what he's trying to do, his passing, his creativity, and just his impact in the game, which you have to watch and see. But because I've been watching football for such a long time, I realized, he's a teenager. And he should get better. Because I've watched a lot of teenage talents, whether that be Rooney, Mbappe, Ronaldo Nazario, Messi. I remember them as teens. I remember them in their 20s. And for all those players I named, they all improved substantially from what they were in their teens. So why watching Yamal is exciting rather than, oh man, Yamal, he has to be better. I know he's 18, and I know that you are way ahead of schedule. You should not be amongst the best players in the world. You should not, because you're a teenager. You shouldn't be. So for me, I'm just excited about what this guy is doing, because I'm like, bro, if this guy gets better. So I'm thinking, imagine what he could be at 21, 22, 23. When I look at how much Messi improved, how much Ronaldo Nazario improved, how much Mbappe improved, how much Rooney improved. I'm like, wow, what could he be? But the crux of the matter is football is in a bad place. Football has gotten worse. Football has become less enjoyable. This is my job. And my job is to talk of football content. So I'll always love football in and of itself. But I'll be real with you, it's hard to watch football. Because as much as I admire teams like PSG and Barca and all these guys for their tactics and Bayern, I can't name 5 players who I want to go and watch them. Bro, take me to the 2000s, Totti, Del Piero, Dennis Bergkamp, Rivaldo, bro, Figo. Too many. If you took me back in the day, I could name you 10 players that, man, I want to go and watch this guy play. Bro, freaking Paolo Di Canio or Juninho. I could name players from up and down that I wanted to play. Jalminia. Jalminia was playing for freaking was it the Deportivo La Coruña or Denilson for Betis. You could just have names from everywhere. But we're living in a world right now where I can't name you 5 players who, man, I wouldn't watch them play. Because you have to watch the team. Do you really tune into PSG to watch Dembele? You tune into PSG to watch PSG. Do you tune into Bayern to watch Kane? Tune into Bayern. You tune into Bayern to watch Bayern. Although I do like Olise. So you see, even to name right now, players are okay. I really want to watch them. Individuals who I just like how they play, I would watch that individual. Yamal, Pedri, Ragu, Mbappe, Olise. You could argue Cole. You see, for me, so you could say Palmer and everything, but okay, if I just say Palmer, Olise, Mbappe, there ain't Figo, there ain't Totti, there ain't Del Piero, there ain't Robin, there ain't Ribery. So just the individual quality has fallen. So for me, football is enjoyable in the sense of looking at the tactics and the teams, but in terms of, bro, give me a Mesut Ozil. Give me a Mesut, please. Tell me a Mesut Ozil right now in football. Give me a Totti. Give me a Dennis Bergkamp. Please, give me the Dennis Bergkamp to today. Give me a Zola. It's not there. So yeah, so the issue is, and this is where I ended it here, because I've talked too much. Your anger shouldn't be directed at Yamal. Your anger should be directed at the state of other football players. So rather than pointing your ire at Yamal and saying, oh, Yamal, oh, he had a disaster class. Oh, he thinks he's so good because he's a teen, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he thinks, because you're an 18-year-old, you can't be criticized. Rather than directing your anger at Yamal, direct your anger at all these other players. These other 25, 26, 27, 28-year-olds. Salah is super effective. Salah is not an enjoyable player to watch. Ousmane Dembele, you know I like him. Talented player. Ousmane Dembele ain't Totti. Ousmane Dembele ain't Dennis Bergkamp. You know, like, there were guys where, bro, look at what this guy's going to do. Whoa, wow. Where they would do things that would be wow. The issue, just have guys who are just effective, not enjoyable. Now, what you want is the 2 E's. Basically, what you want is E squared. To be enjoyable and effective. Now, some players are enjoyable, they're not effective. Some players are effective and they're not enjoyable. What you want is E squared. And there are very few players right now that are E squared. Yamal, for last season, for a large portion, he was E squared. When you look at his creativity, he was effective. And when you look at his Lala, Tata, and Shomleg, he was enjoyable. But how many players today could you say are E squared, have the E squared theorem? Like, put it in the comments below. How many players today have the E squared theorem? How many players are enjoyable and effective? There are several players that are effective. I can give you the list of the players who are effective, from Haaland, from Salah, from Ousmane Dembele, from Keane. Super effective. How many players are enjoyable? Olise, Pedri, Mbappe look, it gets tricky. it gets tricky. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. But people that will disagree, tell me comments below. One love, one love, one love, one love, one love, one love, man. All right.